public confessing, but then I realized that what I did had repercussion in the whole community, and it would make me stronger to confess to everybody. So I think what happened is because I'm very proud, and Krishna sent Maya to make me fall down so I would become more humble. And I know because I'm so simple, I don't really deserve to live in your association, but if you want to give me another chance, I'll never do it again. I hope this is not only a lesson for myself, but for everybody else, that we should never be thinking ourselves to be very strong and always take shelter of other people's association when we feel we're weak.
Now you have understood. Thank you very much.
I'd like to tell everybody right now that I'll never do it again either.
People, I tell you, it'll have a big effect on our young people.
They asked for Rishikesh who I was doing it with because they didn't listen. They didn't listen to my introduction.
He was telling me that in his church. What was that?
In my church when I was a youth, they had this practice of serious religious Christians who backslid according to the Christian tradition. They got up in front of the whole church and confessed from their hearts. Of course, the ones who weren't that serious didn't do it. And as a teenager, I remember I was wanting like anything to deviate, but I was so scared that I'd have to get up and confess that I somehow kept it together for a few more years anyway. So it's definitely a very powerful thing for a close community. It makes the community come together very nicely.
Also in the devotional theistic form of Buddhism, they practice within the order. There's a daily confession that the monks confess to each other. From hour to hour, even the sins to keep themselves pure. They have practiced also communal confession, and also once a year they have big melas where they come and they do nothing but confess for a big long thing, and they clear off everything, all the unfinished business of the year. And we see in the Old Testament, Israel, every year everyone would come together with fasting and sackcloth and ashes, and the king would perform just like ancient Vedic society. There would be big sacrifice and a big, how even when we have the diksha, and when we place the banana in the fire and everything, we are clearing off these sins. While there would be confession at that time in Israel, the whole people would come together confess, and the priest would confess, and the king would confess all the sins of the people before the year could be made new again. So this renewal, as St. Paul said, we have to die daily. Unless we have died, we can't rise again. So we have to put away the old man continually every single day. And the best way to do that, again, also this is very wonderful, the purgative effect of this. So in Christianity we see also this communal confession.
Also our guest from Vrindavan, Vasudeva, informed us that Srila Bhakti Vinod has written a passage about public confession. Could you please tell us about that?
Bhakti Vinod Thakur deals with confession. Bhakti Vinod Thakur deals with confession in his Harinam Chintamani, where it's a conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Haridas Thakur, and Lord Chaitanya is asking Haridas Thakur about the 10 offenses and how to rectify these offenses whenever one is guilty of them. So at the end of each and every offenses, after they are being described, it is mentioned very explicitly that the only way to atone is this public confession. That means approaching an assembly of Vaisnava devotees and begging them to be forgiven. Now, for example, the first offense is sadhu ninda, offending the Vaishnavas. So it mentions that one may go and ask the Vaishnavas for forgiveness, but even that is not enough. One should make it known what offense has been committed and beg from everyone to be forgiven. So I think that the value of the scriptures is that they confirm what we already can know from within, from the super soul, like Srila Bhaktipada is receiving that information from the super soul. But also it is confirmed by the acharyas. And in that sense, by this balance of Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, things can be definitely established. And this is the way I think that knowledge is received according to our philosophy. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
The wise man, King Solomon, I think it was, said, confession is good for the heart, good for the soul.
One other thing about public confession is that we're all part of community. We're all part of the family. And actually, whenever we're committing some sinful activity, it's not just bad for our soul, but it's disrupting, either subtly or grossly, it's disrupting the whole community in the vibration, the feeling.
Absolutely.
And in Japan, they have something they call, I think it's called a wa, where if someone in a family or someone in the community is breaking the law of God habitually, and they're creating this kind of a disturbance, that actually they become very offensive. So then the only remedy for this is either not actually sending away exile, but they become divided from themselves, separated from the community, from the spirit of the community. And so that the only way for them to become part of the communion again, of the community, is to remove that impediment that they have placed there. Yes, and I've read from historians discussing in India, discussing the culture of India. Many times they will discuss the social functioning of these little Vaisnava towns. And there's going to be a panchayat, I think they call it, a community, the elders of the community and town council situation, where if someone had been found to have been breaking the regulative principles, committing some sinful activity, that they would be in this kind of internal exile where people would stop talking to them, for instance, or people would stop, there would be some kind of sanction placed on them, or the worst one was they wouldn't be allowed to do their service. Actually, their service would, in some way, sometimes be taken away from them. And this way, they would be suffering so much the loss of the sense of communion. And when they came before this town council and they confessed, the way that everyone would celebrate was they would have a great prasadam feast. And the person who had committed the sin would have the feast, make an offering, have the feast, invite the whole community, and the whole community would show their re-embrace of the person by coming to the invitation.
I like that.
It's a fact, though, that when you commit a sin, it is not only a private sin, it is a sin against the whole community. The Old Testament is full of stories how that the Lord withdrew his blessing on the whole of Israel because some people were engaging in sinful activity. And the Lord said, put away the sin from the house. And when they put the sin out of the house, meaning out of Israel, from everyone's individual house, the Lord's blessing returned on the whole community. So that thought will also give us strength to resist the temptations of the evil one. If I do this, I'm going to hurt my friends. I'm going to hurt my spiritual master. I'm going to hurt the whole community. And it's a fact.